Welcome to Lead Different.
Why not leadership? Why not lead different?
Welcome to Lead Different, the podcast that redefines leadership and challenges the status quo. Hosted by Daniel Dominguez, founder and CEO of Why Not Leadership. This show is your compass to becoming a better leader through the power of self-awareness. Good leaders foster teams that are engaged, empowered, and energized. Join us on this transformative journey as we equip you with the tools and insights to lead different. Get ready to challenge the ordinary and embrace self-aware leadership. This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lead Different podcast. Today, I am sharing with you someone I met recently, David Citron. He is the founder of Expresso Coaching, a revolutionary micro-coaching program that's designed to help individuals, especially those with ADHD, whether it's diagnosed or undiagnosed, to take massive action and achieve transformational results in the shortest time possible. He has over 15 years of experience coaching more than 1,200 clients, including students, employees, and over 250 CEOs. David has a proven track record of unlocking potential and creating life-changing breakthroughs. His innovative 4-minute daily coaching method emerged from working with clients who struggled to follow through on traditional weekly sessions. Today, Expresso Coaching has helped individuals dramatically improve productivity, academic performance, business results, and personal growth. David's mission has always been clear: to deliver radical positive transformation to people's lives, businesses, and relationships, and to do it fast. So I am excited to bring our good friend, David Citron. Welcome to the show, David. How are you?
Hi, Dan. Yeah, absolutely. A real pleasure to be here. And yeah, loving the energy. Thank you so much for the intro. Appreciate you.
Man, you've done a great job with Expresso Coaching, David. You know, there's so much to learn from your model. There's so much to learn from the way you've taken something that a lot of people see as a negative and turned it into a positive, and help people turn that ADHD into a superpower. And you know, guys, as you're listening, I want you guys to know, as I get on with David, David, you're not only coach ADHD clients, you're an ADHD person yourself. And you can imagine, you get someone like me who is also an ADHD person, and someone like David talking. We went all over the place in the first 10 minutes of the pre-show. And one of the typical things that happens with us is I get on with David and I said, "Hey, did you read the show flow document?" And of course he hadn't. He's got other stuff going on. And so we did a little bit of pre-show talking, but it's neat to see people like ourselves. You know, we identify with people who have similar challenges that we do. But the best part about it is you've built a great business. You've built a great business model, and you're helping people despite, or even because, I would say because of that ADHD ability that you have to work on multiple things at once and stay focused on the important things when you have to. David, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. And I would confirm the whole not getting down to the forms thing. In fact, I'm undiagnosed ADHD. That's I'm so ADHD. My psychiatrist friend, he gave me a form to fill in 6 years ago to see if I was ADHD. I still haven't filled in that form. That's my certificate of ADHD. So yes, I am getting down to forms. In that case, I actually didn't even see it. That's the whole thing. You sort of flip over things, but then we have a lot on the bright side of ADHD that we can channel. And thankfully, Expresso Coaching is doing well. We're in 31 countries and making a difference.
Yeah. So tell us, I'd love for you, because I ran into you. I think I saw your video. You have a tremendously effective short video that you show the origin story. So we'll definitely put that in the show notes so people can find it. But can you tell us where the Joe story? How did Expresso Coaching come to be? Because I think it's fantastic. For those of you that are listening, that are coaches, you're going to identify with this story. So if you could tell us that story really quickly, David, I think it would do great to set the tone for the rest of the call.
Sure, absolutely. So I started out in medical school, realized in medical school, actually, I'm different from all these people. I like to talk to people. So I skipped off from a Bachelor of Medical Science into master's psychotherapy. Even there, I was like, hey, I'm a bit different. Hold on, a bit more solution orientated. So then I moved into coaching. And from 2005 to 2019, the coaching went amazingly, dealing with lots of different clients, CEOs, students, career people, all sorts. And then I hit a bit of a snag with a client called Joe, and I was pulling from all different directions. I was pulling from standard coaching, Tony Robbins, NLP, all these things to help people. But nothing I did could help Joe, because we were doing standard kind of like half an hour each week sessions. And then he'd come back the next week guilty not having taken the action from the week before. We saw after 2 months of trying lots of different things that he was going off track about a day or two after each of the calls. He'd get inspired and then he'd get pulled off track, distracted. So I said to him, you know what, like, why don't I just call you each and every day? He goes, what? I said, yeah, but because I'm calling you each day, it'll just be a micro coaching call, and I'll design it in such a way that it'll be powerful for you. He's like, yeah, I'll try it Monday to Friday. I gave him a call every single day. And he ended up taking 12 times more action than ever before. So I thought it was a bit of a fluke, but we kept going and he kept succeeding. And then I shared it with a trial group of people, kind of pilot year, first 30 people. And the people who really got gains from it happened to have ADHD. And ironically, people who had a stigma of not sticking with things were sticking with this coaching and loving it and seeing it as the missing piece of the puzzle. So we expanded it out. I trained up some wonderful coaches around the world, and we shared it across the world. And we're now serving people in an extremely powerful way, using micro coaching and helping people really tap into their executive thinking whilst holding them accountable.
That's a great story. And David, what I really like about that story is you give us the origin where you started, and you ran into a problem and you found a creative solution to it. One of the things I talk about all the time is, some of the best ideas are things we just took action on. So you just took action. You said, you know what? How did you come up with the idea of, hey, you know what if I just call you every day for 4 minutes? Did that just come to you? And then you said, okay, let's do it. And then you tested it with other people.
Exactly. So rather than kind of going into the ivory tower and going, oh, there's a lot of people out there with ADHD. What can I do that's going to be perfect market fit for them? I was solving a problem for one person, and I wasn't even thinking ADHD at the time. In fact, Joe never kind of self-identified as ADHD. I only realized a little bit afterwards, but it kind of evolved from that, and it developed. And I think the best things develop when we're focused on just making sure that the customer or client is happy, being obsessively focused with making an outcome for the customer or client that the client really, really wants. And from there, I think, some of the most incredible businesses have come out.
One of the things I want to make sure and disclose is I'm a client. So David, I met you. We had a fabulous onboarding call. We talked, we went through the program, and I was sold, and I signed up, I think 3 or 4 months ago. We've had in our business, so the habits that I've changed, we've had tremendously good months. We had our best month of the year back in March, but we've had our second, third, and fourth best months since I started working with Mar, one of your Expresso coaching coaches, and has been fantastic. Those micro calls that we have every morning, we've changed the time a couple of times because of different things that are going on. but it helps keep me accountable to keep my top 3 goals of every day clear in mind, going through them, making sure that I accomplish the goals from the previous day, and then getting on with my day. And it's a short, quick burst to get my day started. So I've really enjoyed being a part of the program. So I wanted to make sure you guys know about that. David, can you tell us about, I think it'd be important for everybody to see, what are the 3 parts of an Expresso coaching call?
Yeah, I mean, the 3 parts, I'm thrilled with your feedback and the progress you've seen. And really, our entire approach is to bring 𝑦ou 3.0. And the way we, 𝑦ou 3.0, just before I get into the 3 parts, is, it's the person who you know already. It's the you who gets more done in 2 hours than most people do in 2 days, right? But it's, 𝑦ou 3.0 is like a wizard. She's here today and then gone for 3 weeks. And then you're like, oh, where the hell, where is she? And what if she could just show up every single day? What if he could just be here every single day? The compound effect of that would be this exponential difference in my life, not just in terms of financial, but hugely. Entrepreneurs and salespeople do incredibly well ROI from Expresso, but like also happiness wise, people resolving relationships, taking their relationships to another level, health, fitness, etc., and achieving health metrics better, faster than ever before. So why is it working? What brings this 3.0? Well, a lot of people in the ADHD tribe are human driven. And I've tested out some AI and tried, I have people every single day contacting me, hey, we can make an AI version of what you do. And I've tested it out. I was, after the first couple of days, it was okay. But by the third day, I was already less motivated. And the reason is because the number one key to any coaching relationship is that the client feels the coach genuinely cares about them. Mm-hmm. So there's that human element, and that is embedded in the first part of the coaching, which is accountability. It's a bedrock. It's not the most sexy part of it all, but it is the bedrock. And when you have someone with that human deadline coming, like we have filter questions, we push away people the whole time that don't go through the filter questions. And one of those questions are, do you respond better to human deadlines than electronic deadlines? And I'm looking for a certainty with that. Yes, humans. It's just I never integrated that. Like a lot of people who come to us were with corporate and now they've moved to be solopreneur, but they can't get out the work from themselves to work for themselves like they did for their old boss. Well, that's the human element. Even though you didn't like doing that other work and the corporate environment was too stuffy or whatever it was, finally, when you're working for yourself, you don't do it. So what happens with the accountability piece is now you're working for yourself through a coach, and that coach is calling you every day, whether it's Mar or Hannah or Shama or any of our wonderful coaches around the world, Tori, all sorts of incredible people who know and have that, they thread that golden thread of memory and meaning through your life. So I always say that people struggle with ADHD Alzheimer's. We go north on Monday, south on Tuesday, east on Wednesday, west Thursday. Friday, we're wondering, where have we been all week? So instead, your coach threads that thread of meaning from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday, channeling your genius so that you can have your proper impact. And so it's that channeling of genius that causes you to then actually, because we talk about superpower, but we're serious about it. Like we are, our job is to get genius around the world to be simple-minded about their next 24 hours. And the accountability piece is the first stage of helping with that. And it's huge. So that's that first piece. So I hope that makes sense. The second piece is even more important, because everyone thinks it's about the accountability, but actually the second piece is even more important. And you would have experienced this with Mar. Our coaches are experts at switching on your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of that genius ADHD mind that is dimmed down the executive level thinking. And if we can just get that switched on, not just on the 1st of January when everyone's inspired and thinking ahead, but and emotionally connected to where they want to be, but every single day, then it's a game changer. Like every single day since you were 2 years old, you face the world faced you. one of two things happened. Either you influenced the world, which felt great, or for most people, most of the time, the world influences them. They get caught in doom scrolling, doom scrolling, doom scrolling. Why is that? Because the influencer had a clearer idea about what he wanted from your next 24 hours than you did. And so here's the rule. Whoever is most clear will always influence the one who's least clear. So our job as your sidekick, your Expresso coach's job as your sidekick, is to make sure you're in a supreme state of clarity every single day, both intellectually and emotionally. The heart's even more important, so that you're fully connected to where you want to be in the next 24 hours, so that you influence the world as opposed to the world influencing you. And as a result, you end up influencing your mind, your body, and your, as you're saying, like the monthly revenue, and the world and community and charities and people doing incredible things with this. Like there's a woman in the United States building a village for people with Alzheimer's. There's people writing books that they thought they could never get round to. We had a 77-year-old saying he wished he had started 50 years ago. All I say to people is today is the first day of the rest of your life. Take it, take the bull by the horns and go for it. So that's the second piece. So hope that makes sense too. And the last piece is sometimes needed. Those first two pieces, in our experience, take care of 90% of our clients' procrastination, but the last 10% we still want, right? It's tricky. Right. It's down to the F word, not that F word, the other F word. Fear. Could be fear of success, fear of failure, could be fear of rejection, embarrassment. It could be fear of not having something perfect enough, so we don't start or finish it. Or my personal favorite, that fear of boredom, right? So whatever the fear is, fear shrinks in the light of consciousness. So simplest way of putting this is, it's going to be great when you say to your Expresso coach, yeah, I did this thing, but you actually get 5 to 10 times more value when you say, no, I didn't reach out to Big John, that huge potential client, because I haven't got my pitch perfect. Oh, wait a second, I'm putting the perfect in front of the good. Ah, okay, so I will reach out to John now, boom, and I'll reach out to him in a couple of weeks, and then I'll be twice as much in his head. In that moment, you get over the perfectionism fear because you exposed the fear to the light of consciousness. You shared it with your coach. That causes you to join the top 1% of movers and shakers in the world. Combo with the other two, the accountability piece, the PFC, switching on the PFC, you end up joining the top 0.1% of movers and shakers in the world. And it's exciting. I'm sorry I rant on about it. I get a little bit passionate about it, but that is the Expresso way.
We want you to tell us all about it. So that was really good, David. Appreciate that. So what I want to make sure you talk about, when we talk about that fear, Mark calls it the power of now. And just like I did, in the pre-call, you said, hey, send me that as a follow-up. One of the things I do now when I'm talking to someone, I'll create a draft email. And that way when the call's over, sometimes at the end of the day, I'll have like 7 draft emails. And I'm like, those are all emails I need to send out. And then I put a subject so I don't forget what it's about. But using that power of now, and sometimes, and I know you probably are familiar with this, if I can take care of it within a minute, we're going to do it right now. Let's do it right now so we can get it done. And that way it gets done immediately. So we call that the power of now. You call it what the 1% do, right? To get things done.
Yeah. And then just sort of, because I think, connecting with that power now, like when we get caught up in the past and the future, we lose a lot of energy, we lose a lot of momentum. And that takes me back to like a particular client who I was coaching one time. And this guy was like, he was a partner. He was like the junior partner in a firm. He was really working for the other guy. And he was taking a certain wage, but he was getting well underpaid. And for months back in the old coaching, I was coaching him, hey, take a step. With Expresso, and he was one of the first in that pilot year, he still didn't take an action. And then we got asked him, okay, do the email like at this time. Okay. And usually people will take an action. Oh, do it. Okay. So can you do it straight after the call? Okay. So now high chance, because the chances of someone taking an action go way down according to the amount of time between, the call and the designated time for the action. So I thought, oh, well, straight after he'll do it. Still no. Why? He was petrified of this other partner. He was petrified of this sort of semi-employer. And in the end, we did exactly what you just said. We said, draft the email right now. Let's get the first lines of it done. And he did it. And he literally changed the destiny of himself and his family because he got this mega pay rise and equity shift in the company as a result. And he would have got round to it eventually, but it might have been 6 years from then.
Right.
Because that's the power of fear. It's underneath the bonnet of the car, driving the car. If you take it out of the bonnet, expose it to the light of consciousness, it no longer drives the car. And that's what having that, for a lot of us solopreneurs, we're like, oh, we're sort of like on our own a lot. And that's where fear thrives. So if you've got someone who's not your boss, not your employee, not your wife, not your partner, nothing like that, there's no particular agenda in any shape or form except for your progress, and they're checking in with you each day, and that light gets, you know, this fear gets exposed, then the fear shrinks, a bit like in the Wizard of Oz, you know, the Wicked Witch of the East or the West or whichever one she was, like I'm melting.
Whatever direction she came from.
Exactly.
No, I think it's really great that you talk about the fact, you know, because we talk about it when you expose it, you know, fear can't live in the light. It lives in the dark. Right. And so if we leave it in the dark, it has power. If we join it in the dark, but you bring it out and you expose it, and now it can be seen for what it is, and it's just something that you can overcome, and you take action. I love how you helped your client just take action, and that's such a good tip for coaches. Speaking of tips, and we're gonna hold on to that one. That's gold, and I use that with my clients. Sometimes I say, you know what? Why don't let's talk about it, and I'll just pull up a document and let's start drafting what that's going to look like, and then let's practice how we're going to say it, and let's get it done. But what are some tips? What's a tip you can share for someone who is either undiagnosed or diagnosed with ADHD to help them do better in their life and in attaining goals? What's something that you have found works with people and you would like to share with us? Because I know you're a person who likes to give and to share, you know, something. Let's give them something they can take away from this half hour that we're spending together and go put it to work today.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you two. All right. The first one is the clone question. And the second one I call the golden ticket to happiness. So the clone question is kind of loved by clients. The reason is it circumvents a lot of the fears, a lot of the hesitations, even the I can't be bothered elements of our personalities. But usually underneath the I can't be bothered is some sort of fear. And the clone question is as follows. Imagine you were hiring someone who was going to work 9 to 5 for you in your business, for you. And that person is a perfect clone of you. Literally, it's you with your features, your charisma, your wisdom, your experience, your talent, your energy, everything. They've got it all. It's exactly you. But you can tell them what to do in that 9 to 5. What would you ask them to do all day for you that you know would completely transform your business? And you can do this with relationships as well. Like, what would you ask them to do if they were working for you in a relationship? Like, it gets a bit more, but in the business side of things, it works clear as crystal clear. Because, and when I ask that question to people, quite often they smile because it cracks through that thing of like, oh, that's what I'm really supposed to be doing. That's what I really want to be doing, but I can't be bothered. Like one of them, like Brian Tracy, who was a mentor of mine, he said, like, you know, forget like the work of research and the work of looking up the client and looking at it and then contacting all of these different things. What about the time in front of the client? That's the key time. And you want to, most people have it 10 versus 90% on that. You need to get it 90 to 10%. And quite often we have a lot of people in sales or working for themselves who manage after a couple of years. Like in the beginning, they have to get in front of people so they build up some business. But then there's some paperwork they can sneak behind. And instead of getting a secretary to do it, instead of getting it outsourced or they end up doing $10 an hour work. And hiding behind that $10 an hour work And instead, they could be out there in front of people and,
Right.
10xing the speed of their retirement. Not that I believe in traditional retirement, but 10xing the speed of what they achieve. And that's one thing that happens with the clone question, because you suddenly realize, oh, I would get them to do it, but not me. Yeah. Okay, I need to be doing that. It's just that it was uncomfortable. It's like what Tony Robbins says, the quality of your life is equivalent to the amount of uncomfortable conversations you're prepared to have. Sales conversations can be uncomfortable for a lot of people. Get in front, stand in front, get in front and do that thing, right? Whether it's get on a podcast.
Get a yes or get a no, but get something, right? Versus hiding behind paperwork all day. I love it. No, that's
exactly.
One of the things you're talking about is we talk about it at Why Not Leadership all the time. So we start, and we talked about this earlier, David. We give everybody the YOS, and so we figure out, okay, what's your why? What is it that drives you? So just to to help you, because you're unfamiliar with it, your why is what motivates you. So for me, it's to contribute to the success of others. I'm motivated by that. That wakes me up in the morning. I want to wake up and I want to make a difference. My how is, how do I contribute? How do I make a difference in the lives of others? Well, I do that by challenging the status quo and doing things different, out of the box. Yeah. I don't do things the way everyone else does. And I know that about myself. So if I know that that's how I'm going to make a difference, I want to spend as much time challenging the status quo as I can. And then my what is make sense. So make sense. What I mean by that is I like to make sense of things. I like to make sure that I can take in lots of information, turn it around and come up with solutions. So I thrive in an environment where I'm making a difference by challenging the status quo and helping people understand things. So that's what we call it is the zone of genius. And I always advocate that, you should be spending 80% of your time doing stuff that you're good at and you love to do, right? Yeah. There's stuff in our jobs, right? As solopreneurs, there's a lot of stuff that we have to do that we don't like to do. And that's the stuff you've got to offload and give to someone else. As you said, hire an admin to do that $10 an hour work, 10, 15, 20, 25, whatever that wage is, so that you can do the stuff when you look at it as, if your coaching engagements pay you $25,000 a year, calculate that hourly. And if you could have 6 of those coaching engagements or 50,000, whatever that is, calculate that hourly rate. And by the time we do that, it usually comes out to $100, $150 an hour. And boy, then you're not hiding behind that paperwork, because you know that what your time is worth. So spending 80% of your time doing what you love and what you're good at. I think that's exactly what I heard you say.
Rationalize the hide, because we say things to ourselves like, well, it's going to get done better if I do it, or that kind of thing. But done is better than perfect, and done by someone else is even better if it unleashes your zone, your genius zone, like you're talking about there. So I love that. I absolutely love that.
David, tell me this. Let's talk a little bit about leadership. The name of the show is Lead Different. Yeah. You are certainly leading different. You've built a business. You've hired coaches to multiply yourself. Everybody wants to know, hey, how do I scale at that level? Tell us about the process you went through. Obviously, I believe in iteration. I always say this: you can always make something better, right? But you can't make nothing better. So you obviously had to get started. You made a decision. You were on your way to medical school and you made a decision quickly. Hey, you know what? That's not for me. And then you went into a different direction, and then you got into coaching. And even that, you found a way to consistently make it better, and you perfected it. But tell us about some of the trials that you had, maybe some of the things you tried and didn't work, but that you learned from, because I believe you either win or you learn. So you've had a lot of learning, but you've had a lot of winning. Tell us, from 5 years ago to today, what have you done that's made such a big difference, that's made Expresso coaching so popular and so well thought of in the industry?
It's a great question. I mean, I think there's been a lot of different things, a lot of different answers coming into my head, and I'm trying to see which ones. I think that the number one thing was, as we said, we're solving this problem, and it was this unique answer to a question being asked by a lot of people. And I think that my temptation when I first got that answer was, well, I've been doing another 15 years of coaching in general. I'm a therapist. I'm a life coach. I've been a business coach. I've worked with lots of business entrepreneurs. I'd worked with a guy who was doing $80 million transactions. So when I went on social media, my temptation was to list out 17 different things that I'd done, including this whole like, oh, and we help people with ADHD and da 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 da. And my mentor at the time for social media said, no, you're making a mistake. Less is more. And you got to go in with the one thing. You got to decide what is the one thing. And I felt in my guts that the most unique thing that I had to bring to the world, which not everyone was bringing, like other people were bringing NLP, other people were bringing life coaching, other people, like, what was this new thing that was helping people in a way where they weren't expecting me to say the Joe story? And people, when I shared about the Joe story, were like, yeah, this is me, and I went through this, and wow, this could really help me. And you could provide that kind of support. And so I went in on social with, there's two things to this, with one mode, right? Not jack of all trades, but with this one thing of like, these are the people that we help. But instead of like, if you go on like LinkedIn, for instance, you'll see everyone puts their job description and they're all like, yeah, and this is me, and this is me. I'm director of this. I'm founder of this. I'm da 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 da. I'm da 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 da. I. Circle that I and chuck it out. Just speak to the person who is your ideal customer. Right. So my first bit of my job description for the first few years was got ADHD ? And then giving people an opportunity to contact me and showing them a bit about what the opportunity was in the remainder of the line. Right. And that got people to self-identify and go, yes, that's me. Now that would have just been about 3% of the people looking. So that meant 97% of people just looked at that and went, oh, but it didn't matter because I just wanted those people with ADHD. And even within ADHD, it's not for everyone. It's because there's some people who, when I said that, it wasn't enough because they were like, oh yeah, I've got ADHD and I'm super thriving already and da, da, da. I just want to let you know. Oh, cool. Okay, very cool. We're looking at the people with ADHD, often the people with inattentive or combined ADHD, particularly have this challenge of meandering and overthinking things. And if we can simplify that thought of genius where they know where they want to go and on a daily basis get that clear and cleaned up, then those are people who are the most creative in the world, like yourself. Like yes. Harvard actually has a test that is, if people use a sentence and there's a big difference between the beginning of the sentence, it's not linear, and the end, it's like they're almost distracted, they're almost saying two things. There's a direct correlation between distraction and creativity. And it is that kind of ninja right brain creative thought versus the left brain A to B to C that comes up time and time again. And so that was the key thing, just to have people go, yes, it's me. And yes, I'm also pushing off my dreams. That is the second element of this. Yeah. I need to do something. And it was the kind of the talking to people, because we should never be afraid of putting ourselves out there to sell. Sell's got a very dirty kind of stigma to it. But actually, there are people out there who need you. As you are listening to this, whoever you are, there are people who need the value that you have to give. And they need you to communicate well to them. They need you to get them to self-identify. They need you to reach out and get them excited with a high opportunity, low risk offer. This is not some manipulative sales tactics. We push away 98, 99% of people in the world. Right. But when we get down to it, the person is left in my onboarding room when we have our first strategy or discovery call is someone who's just like, oh my gosh, like this is exactly what I want. And quite often they're like almost mesmerized, like, why am I, how did I get here? It's because they've gone through so many filters. We've done
Right.
all of the work for the person so that they're like, yeah, oh my gosh, like, why am I perfect? So first, like a woman on the phone was saying to me yesterday, hey, like, this is the first time I've ever felt like known properly about what I'm going
Right.
through, kind of thing. So
Right.
yeah, so that's a little, I hope I've answered that, but I've gone on.
No, you answered it really well. And I love the way you brought it down to, just a lot of the stuff that we do. So when we do the YOS with people, we help them figure out who it is that you are, right? Because people don't care what you do. All that stuff that you put on your resume, how many companies you've worked for and how many years of experience you have, that's a bunch of what. People care why you do what you do. People care what you believe. And when you get down to it and you're doing something, there's a principle that we like to talk about all the time. When you tell people what you believe, you attract people who believe what you believe.
Yeah.
But the other thing you do is you repel people who don't. And like you said, and I love, by the way, I'm going through your coaching, your onboarding call. You do a lot of that filtering. You're filtering through, okay, are you going to be a fit? Because again, we do that in Marshall Goldsmith. We want to make sure that the people that we bring on are going to be helped by what we do. And so we ask the right questions. And at some point, if they just self-disqualify by the answers they give us, that's okay, because you're going to have to find someone else who can
It's better
be
than
a fit for them.
It's great.
Right.
So
versus both of us being frustrated.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that process. And David, you do it expertly. I thoroughly enjoyed my onboarding call. I've thoroughly enjoyed the coach that you've set me up with. Mara and I have just fabulous phone calls every day. It's been a short month. I've had a couple of short weeks this month. I had a short week 2 weeks ago. Last week I was out Thursday and Friday. This week I'm out on Friday, but I look forward to those accountability calls, those coaching calls, because I know that I'm going to make sure that I did what I was supposed to do. And it's really easy to make sure that you make those tasks meaningful, because it's easy to say, okay, I'll brush my teeth and I'll make sure and start the car and stop at red lights. Well, those are easy, and we're going to do those things anyway. So make them challenging enough that they push you to do something, and they're related to the number one goal. So no, I love that. So David, how are you different, today than when you first started? What are you doing differently as a leader? Because how many coaches do you have working in your organization that are doing Expresso coaching?
So we're around 8 or 9 coaches at the moment. But we're moving into a completely different approach, whereby we now have a kind of waiting list of coaches.
Yes.
The approach is that we're shifting into this might be exciting to some of the people who are listening who are life coaches, but want to bring that expertise be in business for themselves without being on their own in business.
Right.
So we're moving to a franchise model, and we're testing it out with a couple of coaches, and it's working really nicely so far, but we're at the very early stages of it.
Right.
Whereby the coaches essentially run their own Expresso coaching from start to finish, the left and right of business. So not just the service, but also the marketing element. But we make it turnkey so that the marketing is so simple, so easy, because our message is crystal clear. Our brand is clear. Our story is clear, where we are understandable to people. And so this is looking to become, something whereby through franchise, through actually having coaches as partners, we can expand and scale on a way which will impact so many more people with ADHD across the world. And will also, and this is a really exciting part for me, the coaches themselves will have a whole other level of lifestyle as well in remuneration for the great work that they're doing. So it's going to affect the coach. The coaches are amazing. Like, let's just, it's usually a very specific kind of person who's a coach, and so they deserve this to be able to make good value-based choices, not money-based choices for themselves, their family, etc. But also at the same time be able to give superb 10x ROI impact to genius around the world, and really make that difference for so many more. And we're looking to reach so many more people by I suppose you could call it being much more generous in business. I think that's key. It's that shift to just really giving people a lot more ownership and leadership over their own destiny. And then I believe the clients will feel that difference as well on an even higher level. So that's the direction we're going now. It's exciting, and it's day by day.
No, I love that you brought that up. Tina Brigley talked yesterday, and you brought it up earlier. Tina posted something on LinkedIn that I really liked. She talked about the fact that she reached out to a client that she thought, there's no way they're going to need me. They've got 1 million followers. They've sold billion-dollar businesses. But she reached out with a message and just said, hey, this is what I do. I'm looking at what you're doing. Wondered if we could have a conversation. And then he responded, and they had a conversation, and he became a client. And you don't do that unless you take that action, right? And you, David, are an action taker. I mean, I definitely see that. I have one more question for you. I want to make sure that we
I
ask
just
this.
want to say something for 20 seconds.
Yeah, go for it.
What you just said 20 seconds, because I think this might help someone out there.
Let's do it.
You said you're an action taker. In my mind, I am the least action taker ever, because I am there for all the seconds and minutes and moments that I don't take action on something.
Right.
And so the world outside sees the action we take, quite often people with ADHD will beat themselves up. Hey, I'm not doing it, but you do. Yeah. And so I just want to say that as a word of encouragement to people, that it's often better than it looks. But yes, power of now for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here's the final question I want to ask you. There's our company is called Why Not Leadership. And one of the things we love to ask is, tell us about a time when you, David, said, why not, to something, whether it was an opportunity, a partnership, a new venture. You said, why not? And you went for it, and you're so glad you did. What's a big why not moment that you remember?
The why not was actually creating a leadership program back in 2007 for kids who were getting thrown out of their school. And we originally created a mentoring program, but in the kids' heads, it was like mentor, mental, so they didn't want to be involved. So instead, we created a leadership program, which then took away the stigma, but we were able to give the kids the tools to stay in school. So it was like, why not? We'll give it a try. And there were people who just didn't want to hear it, but I was like, why not? Let's give it a try. Let's just try it. And it turned out to be much more successful than the mentoring program. So absolutely, why not is the way forward.
I love that. Well, David, thank you so much. You've shared so much in a short amount of time. It's been a pleasure to have you on. It's been a pleasure to be part of Expresso Coaching, to work with Mar, and to have you be a part of my life in a small way in the work, and for me to share in some of the genius that you've shared with our audience today. Guys, if you're listening and you learned something, look in the show notes, get a hold of David, expressocoaching.com, I think. Is that correct, David? expressocoaching.com. Yes. Go there and check out that cool video about Joe's story. And if it's something that you need, or it's something that you're interested in, stay in touch with David, because I love that franchise model you're talking about, David. I think people and coaches will absolutely love it. So subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and in the comments, let us know what you thought of the interview. For now, David, I'd like to ask you one last question. What do you think about ending the show on that note?
Why not?
Thank you so much, David. It's been a pleasure having you on. We look forward to continuing to work with you, and I look forward to seeing your YOS results when you take it. I'm going to send you an email. I'm going to use the power of now. As soon as we hang up, I'm going to click send, and you're going to discover your why, your how, and what. And then, guys, I will share it, and maybe we'll have David on to go over his results, because I think he's going to really love knowing his own zone of genius as well as he already knows himself. I think he's going to learn something from it, and we're going to share it with all of you guys. Have a great rest of the week, David. Thank you so much for being on, and we'll see you guys all on the next episode of the Lead Different podcast.
This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change the world.